Oi, Budge!
You get to the end of round 12. You've won the world title. How does that feel?
It's the science. To me, it's not going in there and slugging it out and just punching on with someone. It's a craft. It's like a chess match. Yeah, I could go in there with someone that's 10 times stronger than me, but I could outbox him and finish him.
So it was probably about 15 seconds into that round, he stands in front of him and calls him on. Jaw hanging off his face, and he wants to stand there and go toe-to-toe with him.
I think that's where the resilience is interesting in boxing, is that you're going to get hit. You're going to kind of fail a lot of little times during a match, and you've got to come back from that over and over again every single round.
What's the difference between becoming a world champion or just being a nearly person who never quite gets there? And what do you need to do to make it ahead of everyone else? Join us on Budge as we talk to world IBF Cruiserweight champion Jai Petain and coach to the superstars Mathie as we figure out what it takes to be the one that makes it. We hope you love this episode too, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're listening. Welcome to Budge, How to Fudge Being Human, with myself, Paul Miles, and Dr. Darren Coppin.
As always.
Yeah. Behavioural scientist to the stars. How are you, mate?
I'm brilliant. Since I last saw you, things have just turned around for me.
We are delighted tonight to be joined by, I want to say it like this, Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Jai Petain.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yep.
Yep.
He only told you like less than a minute ago.
I know. It's long enough to mess it up. And a good mate, Mathie, who works with Jai with his boxing as well. I was thinking about your introduction, mate. You played for the Cowboys and Roosters.
Yeah, more so Roosters and Cronulla as kids.
Yeah. And also your other thing is big advocate for mental health, both in terms of talking about it and raising money for it to try and get people to kind of accept. Yeah, good on you, mate. Thank you both for joining us on the show. We really appreciate it. I'm going to talk obviously a bit about the fact that you're world champion, Jai, and everything related to that, and the amazing physical side of that, but also maybe talk about some of that mindset stuff too, and what makes a champion a champion. But I guess to start off with, mate, why boxing? Where did that come from, that led you into that sport?
I grew up around boxing. I'm a fourth generation on my father's side and a third on my mum's, so I just grew up around the boxing. My dad was a coach. He had fought, but he was coaching when I sort of was a bit older. And it was just all I knew. It was all around me. So it was just a matter of time, pretty much. And
does pressure come with that? Then when it's your family, what sort of level do they fight at?
They had professional fights and stuff like that, but not to the world sort of stage that I've sort of taken it to. But no, not so much pressure. They had so much belief in me growing up, so there wasn't too much sort of pressure. The only pressure was sort of the pressure I put on myself. Sort of thing, so.
Mate, as soon as Darren and I started talking about you coming on the show, Darren sort of obviously went and researched and had a look, and like everyone, starts talking about that amazing fight last year, round 2, and I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, where you broke your jaw. Would you mind just talking us through?
To be fair, he didn't break his own
jaw. No, you
jaw.
did break it. Somebody else did. Fair point. Could you talk us through what you remember about that and what actually happened?
It was actually a third round.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, that's all right. The third round, I broke the left side of my jaw. I still remember the punch in like that sort of crackly feeling as soon as he hit it.
Do you think he realised he did it at that point?
Nah. I don't think. I think I'm the only one who sort of. I was like, oh shit, my jaw's broken. But,
did you realise? Because you were there at ringside, right? No.
He didn't.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. No. I sort of tried to keep it sort of calm in the corner and stuff like that. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Just wanted to sort of carry on throughout the fight.
Just a broken jaw.
But yeah.
And then you broke the other side.
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't him that broke it. It was another bloke.
The other bloke broke the other side.
Yeah, the other side ended up breaking later on in the fight. Because the left side was broken, it was just wasn't able to sort of bite up into my mouth guard. It was sort of hanging low, so just getting knocked around. The other side went. And then, I can't remember what specific round or sort of what specific punch broke the other side, but I just remember by the end of it, it just was no good.
Did you see it at that point or not?
No, the first time I knew about it was when I take his mouth guard out and watch his mouth guard in between rounds, and I went to take his mouth guard out, and he just looked at me and shook his head. So we have to be careful what we talk about because the Foxtel microphones are on you, see. You don't want to be giving them any news that they want to hear. So he just shook his head, and I said, "Really?" And he said. Wow. But from then on, it become obvious to everyone. So.
We were actually went to a kickboxing fight with the same doctor. Well, when was the kickboxing fight? Sunday, yesterday.
Oh yeah. He was there too.
Last night,
Saturday.
The same doctor was that was at my fight, was at that fight, and he was saying like if the ref would have said, to the doc, we have to look at this, the doc would have had to go. Nah,
no, could never have. He could never have. That's the last 2 rounds. I didn't watch it.
We would have had to break the doctor's jaw.
I couldn't watch any of the fight the last 2 rounds because I was just watching the referee, and the referee just kept looking because as soon as he sent him to the doctor would have just called it off and he would have lost. But I think the best thing sums up they asked the doctor, Fox Sports guy Ben Damon asked the doctor in the change room, is it normal when people break one side of the jaw that the other side breaks?
Yeah.
And I actually heard him say it to him, and he looked up and he said, "Oh fuck, I got no idea because I don't even know anyone stupid enough to keep doing it."
Yeah. So you're spending the last couple of rounds then. You're in your mind. You must be going, "Do not notice this. Do not know, or do not stop this." You would have been worried, I suppose, that the referee's going to recognise it, the doctor's going to recognise it, and you've got this other thing going through your head. You're trying to win this match. And your brain's going, shit, I hope no one sees this, what's happened. Was that going on?
Yeah, definitely. It was, I just really wanted to finish the fight. I knew I was, fighting well, and I knew I was up on the scorecards. I felt like I was. I just really wanted to finish the fight, It was just stopping the fight wasn't an option for me.
No.
So
we told him to run the last round. Well, so-called run. Keep your hands up, defend yourself, and move all the time. So it was probably about 15 seconds into that round. He stands in front of him and calls him on.
Yeah. Oh my word.
Jaw hanging off his face, and he wants to stand there and go toe to toe with him.
Wow. And sorry, man.
I was going to say, I think once you're in that moment and you've been training for, what was your training thing for that before that, 10
His
weeks
whole life.
or so? Yeah, but basically your whole life. I think the hardest thing to get through would have been the 4 months afterwards, only being able to eat through a straw.
Oh,
were you putting Big Macs in the Nutribullet?
It was torture, eh? Like even just thinking about it now, like
so
I
that's
was
the
talking
worst
about it on my
bit.
missus the other day, and just
You were putting some weird shit in blender.
I chucked KFC through the blender.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was terrible. Needed more gravy, but I was just living off 2-minute noodles, eh? Just crushing them up and then having them soft. That was my snack, but. Yeah, for the first sort of month, my throat got really badly infected, and I actually couldn't I could not even swallow. Like I couldn't even finish a bottle of water. Like it was like razor blades when I was swallowing. And stupid me, like I'm just thinking, my jaw's still sore because it was broken. I didn't know it was infected. Yeah. And then we went to the doctor.
I took him to the doctor and he opened his mouth and his back of his throat was just like someone hit with a cheese grater.
Jeez.
I was like, why do you take so long? He goes, I'm sick of annoying people. I'm sick of annoying people about it. I just thought it was just normal. He couldn't even swallow a bit of water.
There's a huge resilience there, piece there, he does. Just, I guess, what you're capable of taking there must be something there around that differentiates you from other boxers and other people in terms of not just the jaw thing, but even that story then about the throat infection and that sort of thing. But before we come to that, I just want to ask you, mate. You get to the end of round 12, you've won the world title. How does that feel, and what do you remember?
The jaw was a big distraction of it all, but it was fun. It was like, honestly, it was like a feeling like finally, like I've done it finally, because I always knew I was going to be fighting for world titles, and I always knew my time was going to come. So it was just like, finally, my time's here, So it was an awesome feeling, and it was good that I had all my family there and stuff like that. So it was a pretty special moment.
And he celebrated by being in hospital for 2 days.
Yeah.
I had bad, like just going through my phone and watching all my family, like people I hadn't seen. Some like after I won the world title, I sort of sat back and reflected what it took to get there, and I realized even at that fight, like there was aunties and uncles I hadn't seen for about 4 years.
Yeah.
Because I was so dedicated to winning this world title that I was just, it was just tunnel vision. You know what I mean? Like it was actually the first time after winning the world title that I sat back and was like, you know, I've finally done it. Yeah. Like I've still got a long way to go and I'm far from finished, but it was like, I took a deep breath and had a look around and I realized how much I actually missed to get there. You know what I mean? So it was a big eye opener, and
that's a really interesting point, because this came up with another interview that we did. We interviewed Nikki Hudson, who was the Hockey Roos captain player. She won gold medal for Australia in 2000, and she was talking about the same thing. I think she said for 6 years, was it, prior to it? Yeah. They just trained, and she missed out on so much life because of this. And so similar sort of thing. Did you feel like you've missed much?
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, it's sacrifice, you know. People say they want to be world champs, but the training's the easy part. You know? The training, the physical part's easy. Yeah. You know, but being away from your family, you know, having to miss out on birthdays, weddings, like, you know what I mean? Like but when you're that focused, none of it really matters, you know, and the people that really care for you and they know what you've put in, they know, you know what I mean? They know, they'll be like, you know, Jai's focused, he's got to do what he's got to do. And even my mates, you know, when I'm in training camp, I don't even answer my phone, just in case they're like, oh, what are you doing? Come for dinner. You know, dinner ends up, you know, you're having a schooner. Yeah. And then I'm like, so I'm bad with temptation. So I just got to eliminate the whole situation, you know what I mean? So I just don't go.
This is at other podcasts, the difference between self-regulation and self-control. You know, you regulate it by switching the phone off and not being tempted. Because what would you have done for those 2 days after the after the fight? Would you have ever remembered it?
Who knows? Would have had some fun.
No, but at least you were able to be reflective on it. Because I noticed in some interviews when you could...
I was happy that he was in hospital.
A lot of people were.
Yes, your liver would have been... Did you celebrate?
Yeah, I celebrated.
Yeah, of course.
On his behalf. That's very lovely of you.
So kind.
We sent him photos and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the message is later, delete that photo.
No.
But you said you had some time for reflection, but I've noticed in some interviews you're already sort of thinking about what's next, where am I going to... This is a platform for me to do good back home in Samoa, but also, you know, to move on to the next level and what have you. That kind of stood out for me, because you've always, from what I've read about you and what you've said, is you've always had this purpose, and boxing's given you a sense of purpose and a world title. But also, once you've achieved it, using that as a purpose to benefit back home and youth standards and set standards and examples for the younger people back in Samoa.
Well, yeah, it's just... See, my main motivation was just sort of provide for my family. You know what I mean? This is the tool I have to put food on the table and take my family out of the stressful sort of situations. You know what I mean? But it just works out like when you're doing so well and you're able to help people around you as well. And you know, it's just an awesome feeling to be able to help people when you're doing well, you know. And I've still got a long way to go, you know. I've still got many things to do before I can, you know, I've got to set myself up before I can set other people up around me. But it's getting closer and it's more realistic now, you know what I mean? I'm not just a kid that's dreaming about it, I'm living it. So
that's an interesting mindset, you know, the fact that you set yourself up, but you then think to set up other people too. That's fascinating, because not a lot of people actually necessarily think like that, you know.
Well, it's just the people I'm sort of surrounded by as well, you know. Like I'm getting educated on the way of how to, you know, this business stuff to me. Now that I've won a world title, it's turned into a business. You know, there's all these contracts and stuff and endorsements and stuff like that. That, man, coming from where I come from, man, this is a very, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a back to when I first started having these big meetings. Even today, sitting at a podcast and people listening to me, you know, it's a crazy sort of path that my life's led to, but it's just all been through the boxing and through the hard work. And this is what I mean. Like, there could be people out there that, you know, need a bit of information. I don't know.
People want to be great, but I don't think many people are prepared to do it. But Jai is a perfect advocate of someone that he strives for greatness. Like, and I think that's what got him there in the first place, of always wanting to be better. After every training session, we try and be better for the next one. And I think it just rolls into what you said then. Like, he's just won a world title, and it looks like he's not happy with that. He wants more and more and more. That's why he'll achieve greatness, because his mindset is completely different to someone else's. He's not just content to win a world title and then that's it. Or you know, we go through the injuries, and he just wants to get better faster and faster. He wants to get better faster than everyone else. He wants to heal better. He wants to train harder. So nothing will really keep him happy until he just continues to strive for chase what he wants.
So in mentoring him, if I can call it that, have you ever had to rein anything of his back in, like training too hard, being too focused, not getting up on time, that sort of thing? Is there anything you've really had to manage and
we hit little hurdles and fix little things all the time, but there's nothing really. You know, he just does everything that he's told, and he does it well. You know, he
listens.
No one's perfect. He's definitely not. But
I feel like that's why me and Mark do get along so well, and we do train well as well. Because like, I feel like if other trainers were around us, they'd be like, "That's too much."
Oh, okay.
But when it's me and him, we're like, let's get it done. You know what I mean? I feel like that's why we're sort of good for each other. But
I've seen you train. It is insane. I can't remember if it was like it was either the assault bike or the rower, and you were on and going full pound for like as long as I was in the gym, I think, one day. And I'm like, I'm so glad you didn't notice me training, because it would have just been a schmozzle.
I've seen you in a bar fight when it's 5 deep. And the way you get to the front of that bar is inspirational.
Thank you. I do seek to inspire others. Mike, there's a training's one's aspect though, but one of the questions we got in the Facebook group, we said that we were having a world champion boxer coming on. We said what questions we'd like to ask. Preparing physically is one thing, and you know, being super fit. How do you prepare mentally for a fight? You're going into a ring to punch somebody and to have someone punch you. How do you prepare for that? And I know, Mike, you've had a few fights as well. You know, how do you guys prepare for that sort of combat?
We had to work a lot on, you know, from when I started with Jai, it's one thing that I think that he lacked a lot was his sort of mental preparation and probably even belief. Like he still sits here now and says he can't believe he's on a podcast and things like that, and he's world champion. But that's a good positive sign for him, you know. But we had to work on a lot of different areas, and I've worked on a lot of his, I suppose, his mental approach without him even knowing it. You know, sort of a few little things that I had to change here and there over the last few years. But we just had a belief that it's okay to think that you're good enough to win it, but you really got to believe it. And on top of that belief, you got to know that you've earned it. You know, no one deserves it. We don't like hearing people say that, he's been in boxing and he's got a great pedigree, so he deserves it. No one deserves anything. You know, you must earn it. So we had our mental state going into that world title, especially Jai and I, that we never thought that he could lose. Yeah, because you lived that. Actually, I remember coming to the gym. You were just living so confidently the fact that Jai was going to be the world champion. I told everyone. Yeah. I told everyone that Jai would be the world champion. After I trained him for about 6 months, I told him if he sticks with me and he continues where he's going, I said I guarantee. I told everyone there's 20 people out there that have said, I can't believe you told me that 2 years ago. Yeah. Because he's just got something a little bit different than everyone else. But we earn it, we don't deserve it. Yeah. And when if people had any idea what we go through to get there, they'd understand what it means when we say that we thought we couldn't be beaten. Yeah. Sorry, Dad.
Well, I was just going to say, I was listening to an old Sugar Ray Leonard interview, and the old saying with boxing is it's 90% mental 10% physical. But he was saying he always had his feet on the ground. But when he won and started to get recognised outside of his hometown, it started to get quite kind of seductive and kind of started to dilute his focus and his mental approach and what have you. And you sound like a bloke with your feet on the ground. You know where you've come from and you value the family and what have you around you and the people that have been working with you. But do you think you'd be able to resist that seduction? And like Sugar Ray Leonard ended up, with his feet on the ground and family around him, he still ended up turning to a bit of alcohol and drugs and being seduced. And this is way down the line. But do you think you've got the people around you to protect you? I've heard you've got the self-regulation already by turning the phone off.
Yeah, I do. I think I do. You know, I like to have a bit of fun every now and then, but I like to earn it. You know what I mean? I don't like my fun to outweigh my hard work. But yeah, I'll bring it on. I think I will.
What do you do for fun other than blend KFC?
I love my fishing, eh?
Oh, really?
Yeah, love my fishing.
Obsessed.
Oh, really?
Not love.
Yeah, that's me, training and fishing.
That's something that Mitch from Maths, like, we were chatting to this guy from Married at First Sight, and
I think he said he's met your dad in the gym or something. Is that
my
right?
dad?
No, not your dad.
Because if he could tell me who it is, you know.
Yeah. No, somebody from, he said somebody from your family lives, you met them the other day and he sort of...
oh, really?
Because he boxes as well,
yeah.
And he's got a fight this weekend.
I think I know who you're talking about. I think I seen him at a fight night.
Yeah,
and
possibly.
I knew he was off Mass. He was working at the canteen.
Yeah, and interestingly, his
Helping
thing, he wants to be a boxer too, and his thing was fishing.
Fishing to chill out. But he also had a good mentality, you know, he goes into things, he's got his feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been devastated psychologically by being on Maths.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the pre-fight bit, right? Because Darren's been educating me on this notion of posturing, that humans throughout history, right, we don't tend to actually come to battle and to fight. We often posture a lot, and it often doesn't come to the actual fight, right, Darren? Is that right?
Yeah, well, it's the same in all animal species, whether you're a lion, a peacock, you know, a bird, or a human. Most of battle is actually dressing up, puffing your chest out, handbags, soccer anyway, but it rarely and tribal wars, but they rarely actually come to a fight and physical blow and physical injury. People then just back off when somebody's clearly dominant. And so it's actually a really hard switch to actually go, no, I'm going to actually fight. And this is the same for armies. You know, they found all of those muskets after the American Civil War in Gettysburg that had 20 bullets that their muskets, balls that they'd put in there, because they have to go through this rigmarole and pretend to fire.
To pretend to shoot,
But they never actually do, and only 15 to 20% of soldiers ever actually fire in battle. So it's a hard switch. Now, I guess if you've been brought up with this, that, you're in there to box, and that's what you do. You actually make contact with that bloke's face or stomach. But, you know, how do you overcome that? Because it takes a lot of mental strength to actually follow through and hit someone. I
grew up in a boxing family, so I really respect the sport. You know what I mean? It's more of I look at it as a respectful sport, and it's the science. You know what I mean? To me, it's not going in there and slugging it out and just punching on with someone. It's a craft. You know what I mean? You're training it's like a chess match. You know, like, I could go in there with someone that's 10 times stronger than me, but I could outbox them, you know what I mean, and finish them, you know what I mean? And that's the reason why I love the sport, and that's what I'm good at as well. I'm good at the sport. I know it. I'm grown up in it. And I think that's the difference why people always ask me, you know, how do you get in there and you just hit them? You want to hurt each other, but it's you know, hitting when to hit, when not to hit, slip, come back. You know what I mean? It's this sweet science in it, and like if you can get that craft down pat, man, it's just.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the greats call it an art form.
Well, it's
a
with
science,
any sport. Any sport's got
sweet science for no reason. It's so much science. There's not. The violence just looks like the violence is uneducated. But as Jai said before, it's more like a game of chess. It's a sport where you've got to attack and then defend at the same time. So you've got to be careful what you're doing. Make sure they're not setting you up or you're setting them up for something else, for your next move. If you just go out there and go hell for leather and just think you're just going to try and hurt someone, you're probably going to get knocked out yourself. But there's a lot of skill behind it. It's like I say, it's always like golf, except in golf, if you hit the ball in the water, you just have another drop and hit another 10 balls. But if you make a mistake at his level, you're going to get knocked out. Yeah. So there's no room for error.
Well, I think that's where the resilience is interesting in boxing, is that you're going to get hit. You're going to kind of fail a lot of little times during a match, and you've got to come back from that over and over again every single round. So it's a really interestingly mentally tough sport to be involved in.
I was going to ask on that posturing piece, right? When you do your weigh-in and you come face to face, how do you win that? How do you know? How do you win it? How do you know you've won it?
Garlic breath.
Oh.
I don't.
Is that a key part of it to get that mental?
People. I've heard Mike Tyson say I stared at him and when he looked away, I knew I won.
Yeah.
I don't find that that's not a battle that I care about winning. Nothing else matters but what happens in that ring.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how much you dance around, what you wear, the way you talk to the crowd. The only thing that matters is how we fight on that day. And as long as my hand's raised, it doesn't matter what you know what I mean? That's all that matters to me. All this staring toughness and you gotta G yourself up and get through some shit. But I don't know. I just feel like all that the eye contact. You want to let them know that you're here. And
just because someone looks away doesn't mean that they got no ability the next night.
Sure.
yeah, of course.
You judge. I've done that with someone before. You just go. You blinked. It's just like what you do when you're 7 years old.
We had some really interesting questions in the group chat. The other one that came up was, do people target you or try and do stupid things in public because of your, the world boxing champion? Do you find people ever try to start things with you?
There's definitely extra eyes on you. You know what I mean? And then when you get an attention, there's, I don't know. Yeah, yes and no. You know what I mean? I try and stick to myself, really.
Yeah.
I don't really. I keep my circle small, but if you're looking for trouble, you'll find it, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to stay out of trouble,
Mark, what's
next question?
Before Mark is.
Yeah. What's the difference, Mark, between Jai and the rest and everyone else who wants to be world champion?
You gotta earn it.
Yeah.
And you got to go through a lot of different barriers, mentally and physically, and people are just not prepared to do it.
Yeah.
It's the same as anyone that's successful in anything, whether it's business or sport. They've put themselves through things that other people are not prepared to do. They continue. They don't just work long hours for a couple of years and think they're going to be successful.
Yep.
They work for long hours for 20 years, and they do the right things along the way and make as little errors as possible. But Jai he's just prepared to do the work, and there's not a lot of people that are prepared to do that.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of people out there that are on par with the same talent as Jai and boxing ability and stuff like that, but they've probably had 2 or 3 or 4 pro fights and never fought again because they're not made the same as him mentally.
Yep.
And that doesn't come. That just doesn't happen. You can't be just born a champion. You got to make yourself a champion.
Yeah. You agree with all that, mate?
Yeah, for sure. There's even growing up, because I had my first fight at 8 years old, so I grew up around other kids that were other athletes. You know what I mean? That's what was my interest, and we'd always go training together. And I watched some of my best mates, go off the rails. Just, I don't know, that sort of lack of discipline, or they just had all the potential in the world, could have been world champs, but just fell short in certain areas, you know what I mean?
Are you obsessive or focused with other sports as well?
Fishing.
What about
If I want to be good at, like, if I get into something, I can't handle not being good at it, you know what I mean? Like I was into my gaming for ages and I just get addicted, you know what I mean? Like I got a real addiction to shit I just got to be good at it, eh? I want the best, you know, even with my fishing, you know, like.
What do you fish? I mean, what sort of fishing do you do?
Any fishing, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm not a fisherman, I'm a hunter. I'm a hunter.
fun fair,
I
you'll be
hunt
going for the
specific
goldfish.
species. I'm telling you, you know, I put my mind on something, and you know, like a certain fish or a certain size fish, like, and I just fish and fish and fish till I get it.
So this to me then, what it speaks to is you've already talked about this. You're not going to stop. You know, you're going to go on and on. What's next for you, mates, in boxing world?
More world titles, man. We're really
Undisputed?
yeah, man. That sounds good, eh?
It does.
You know, we got a long path ahead of us. You know, we've only won one. Like we got 2 belts at the moment, but you know, we still got a lot of hard work. It's like Mark says, we got to earn it every day.
Yeah.
You know, just because we've come this far doesn't mean the other one's going to come easier.
And you've not boxed overseas for a wee while, have you? But that's got to be on the cards for the next stage.
I've been overseas a lot. I've through my pro career, I've had.
How old were you when you were in the Olympics?
I qualified at 16.
You're one of the youngest Olympians ever, aren't you?
I've tried to Google it, but
Was that
I could be London.
London,
could
sorry,
be
London,
the youngest
of course,
boxer.
yeah, 12.
I think you were
That's
the
never
youngest,
competed.
but I didn't want to make it. I didn't want to
It
make
is
a
in
statement in case
Australia.
someone pulls me out.
In Australia, it is, but I've tried to Google some young boxers. I know Amir Khan was only 17 when he went and stuff, and I'm pretty sure I beat him by like 2 months. So
Wow.
I've tried to look it up. I could be wrong, but
We were only talking about coming back from sparring the other day, and he said he was in the same room as LeBron, and he was talking to some bloke with the Australian tracksuit on, and it was Nick Kyrgios, but Jai said, "Oh, what do you do?"
Brilliant. Mate, the inevitable question of every cruiserweight, and I'm thinking Evander Holyfield was cruiserweight, wasn't he?
Yeah.
What's the chances of you ever going into heavyweight division?
yeah, the chances are pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, we got a lot of boxers that tick first in the cruiserweight division.
Yep.
There's a lot of work to be done, and then for sure in the back end of the career we have a few heavyweight fights. Why not?
I'll make a statement. I told people 2 years ago that he'd be world champion. He'll win a heavyweight title within 3 years.
For 3 years from now?
Guarantee you.
Right, I'm putting money on that. Because you did. I literally remember you a few months before the fight last year, you'd saying, Jai's going to be the world champ.
So there's no rush to get there whatsoever, but
Yeah.
once he steps foot in that heavyweight division, it'll be 1 or 2 fights. He'll fight for the world title and he'll win it.
Yep.
And what's been the best positive from winning, other than obviously meeting myself and Paul, obviously? But didn't when you returned to Samoa, the royal family?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
pretty
crazy
cool.
experience. Eh? You know, having that whole country just backing me all the way, like Samoa, man. There's like kids, you know, running around, no shoes, no phones. Like I don't even know how they knew who I was, you know, because it's not like they got phones and they're scrolling on social media. Like that just shows how invested they get into watching the fights and stuff. Because it's awesome, man. It's a crazy feeling, and I hold that place close to my heart because that's my grandparents are a massive sort of part of my life and sort of who I inspire to be like in a way. You know, I hope to. You know, people to look at me the way I look at my grandfather, sort of thing. So, and he's full Samoan, and so
That's brilliant. People spend their lives looking for their purpose and searching for what their legacy is going to be, and to see an impact already so young and so much more you can do as well is that's pretty inspiring for people.
I'm going to ask, we'll probably wrap up soon, mate, but I've got one question. I'm not even going to look at Mark when I ask you this because he's probably going to punch me. Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and all these social media influencers, because I know you love them, Mark. What do you make of their entrances into the boxing
Are
world?
you asking this before you think about changing careers and going?
No, yeah.
Oh, really?
For blokes whose knees can't work over 50. Yeah.
You know, I don't know. They're just in their lane. They're doing their thing. You know, it's becoming like people are getting mixed up with sort of showbiz and the fight game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's two different things. There's world champion fighters, and then there's just show business. You know what I mean? That they're just chucking big names in there to fight. You know, it is like it's just hard to sort of like with the Logan Paul and stuff. I don't know him. You know, I don't know him, but like I just look at it as in like the Paul Gallen. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people badmouth Paul Gallen, but I actually had I fought on 4 of his undercards. You know what I mean? He gave me a platform to sort of showcase my skills. I fought for a New South Wales title on there.
Yeah, okay.
I got to sort of showcase on Foxtel. So him doing what he done, it did open up a lot of pathways for, you know, other boxers and stuff like that. So there is a positive to it. But it's just the sort of little things like if you're not carrying on at a, you know, if you're not carrying on at a weigh-in and bagging it, you know, like doing extreme things, then people aren't like, oh, you know, like it's not sold the same way because they think that that's how boxers act.
Yeah, yeah.
But boxing's a gentleman's sport, bro. Boxing's a man's sport, you know, and it's how you carry yourself. And my grandfather's always said, you know, your opponent's never your enemy. You know, you just go out and you do what you do.
Yeah, I was always a Lennox Lewis fan in my day, and he had a very similar view of the world. You know, it's a science, and you act like a gentleman, and you treat people with respect, and then you go out and win the world championship. You know,
But then it becomes a business, and then a bit of show business to market the tickets and sell out Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So as long as you can separate that in your brain, then you'll be strong.
You can't blame them for it. You can't blame them for it. What do you make, 20 million or something?
something like that, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Going out of control, you know. So if people are stupid enough to pay him to do that, then good on him. You can't blame him for it, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like those boys whatsoever. You watch what he's put himself through his whole life, and you see them just turn around and get off their computer or get off the.
They've definitely taken shortcuts.
That's the thing, isn't it?
The thing.
Yeah,
they've definitely taken shortcuts to.
They pick it up for 2 years and then they go and fight. And it's that you can't take anything away from them for making money ever, but there should be another name for it. It shouldn't be called boxing. You know, they should have another name for what they do. You know, something boxing, but not boxing. You know, someone like what Jai and people like that have achieved is just phenomenal. Like it is. But there's 7-point-something billion people in the world, and you got the number one cruiserweight in the whole world here. You know, out of those 7-point-something billion people, and these people have got taken the limelight off people like him because they've just turned around and put a pair of boxing gloves on. So a bit sad in that aspect, but whatever. You know, we'll fight them.
Yes, we would.
But thanks, James, both of you for coming and talking to us.
He loves calling me James, this bloke.
No, James.
Oh, James.
Home James. Yeah. Thanks both for coming and chatting to us.
Don't worry.
To do this. But we always ask everyone that comes on the podcast before we wrap up, what is the human behaviour that annoys you the most?
Well, you can go first.
Yeah, Mark actually told me.
You probably steal one anyway.
Mark actually told me this in the car, and I'm like, when you think about a question over and over again, you know, but I don't know. Probably the most would be being like untrustworthy. You know, like for someone to say about me, "Oh, I can't trust him."
Yep.
That'd probably be the biggest insult to me. You know what I mean? Being untrustworthy. So probably that.
Yeah. Interesting. And yours, Mark?
Stupid questions.
You're not giving 100%. Yeah.
Not
giving 100%. Yeah. Add whatever you can do, whatever ability you can do, whether you've got one arm or one leg or whatever. Just whatever you're going to do, give it 100%. You know? It's going to take the same amount of time. It's just the amount of effort that you put in. You know, if you're going to go and train for half an hour, go and train really hard for half an hour because the time's the same amount of time. When you go to work and try hard. You know, try hard all day. You know, work hard all day. Doesn't matter what job you are. If you give your relationship 100%. Don't just give it 50%. You know, try hard. Give it 100% to everything, and
work ethic.
Be a better place.
Yeah.
I like that. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I wish I'd come up with that.
Good luck, mate. Really, I'm literally, after what Mark just said, I'm going to go and stick some money on you being world heavyweight champion. It's,
I thought you were going to try 100% of stuff, but no.
Oh, no.
I'm just going to stick money.
I'm 100% going to put money on Jai.
Easy money.
Kill two birds with one stone. Get the 100% out.
Yeah. But until then, mate, good luck with the cruiserweight fights coming up. I'm guessing
we've got plenty to do in the cruiserweight division first, that's for sure.
I'm guessing you have a few fights to unify, a few titles between here and then. So, good luck, mate. Thanks, gents, for coming on.
No problem.
Thank you for having us.
And thanks, Darren, as always. And if you like this, what you listen to, make sure you click subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, Budge.